Now, there has been a story in the last day about two former Labour staff who were asked to sign confidentiality agreements after making complaints of sexual harassment about a senior official. This is not the first time that we've had stories of harassment and bullying in the Labour Party, and I'd like to bring on to talk about this Pamela Fitzpatrick, who's not been on the show for a while, but it's great to see you again, Pamela. How are you doing?
Hi, Crispin, and hello, everybody. Nice to see everybody.
Do you want to tell us a bit about this case, and also what you've experienced and what you think Labour's whole culture is on this bullying and misogyny?
Yeah, I'll start with saying when I was elected to the National Women's Committee, I was contacted by many women in the Labour Party who have experienced harassment, abuse in various ways, basically. I was really taken by how many people. And this story yesterday is just another example. It doesn't surprise me, but it's just another example. So you will have read in the reports that two women, Laura Murray and Georgie Robertson, they made allegations of sexual harassment in the Labour Party, which do not appear to have been investigated. But during a process where they were looking to exit from the Labour Party, they were asked to, sorry, I don't know what's happening there.
Sorry, Pamela.
They were asked to sign non-disclosure agreements, which would mean that they could not have brought an action against the Labour Party for sexual harassment. So this has come out not because they have brought a claim to an industrial tribunal. It's come out because the Labour Party are pursuing them through the courts to blame them for the leaked Labour document that revealed quite a lot of the bullying, harassment, misogyny, racism that's going on in the Labour Party. And this just is one of many similar cases where women are the victims in whatever way of abuse, and the Labour Party protects the men involved and then pursues and harasses the women more. So they are pursuing them through the High Court, which, if the Labour Party was successful, would lead to huge costs on their part. But it has come out during those proceedings, the way the Labour Party has behaved. But it just reveals how incredibly incompetent those involved at the Labour Party are, because they must have realised this would come out, but no, they've still pursued it. But there are other cases. I sat through the trial of Afsana Begum, the MP in Tower Hamlets, and a similar thing. She had experienced domestic violence, and the person involved was also a Labour Party member, had a position in the party. Nothing was done about him, but yet she was pursued through the courts and risked going to prison. She got very little support from the Labour Party. And the man involved, was not even suspended. And when you think about how other members are treated, now there was an uproar and he was eventually suspended when she was found not guilty. But he was quickly had his suspension lifted to allow him to stand as a councillor again. Now, if you think how many of us have been suspended, expelled for really quite trivial matters. So then I'll get on to my own case, which is not obviously as horrific as what Afsana went through, but I made a complaint of harassment and stalking of somebody who'd been commissioned to do this. So I didn't know, commissioned by Labour councillors in Harrow to do this, to get me deselected as a parliamentary candidate. And this led to huge intrusion into my life, defamatory statements, regular vexatious complaints. And I made a complaint to the Labour Party in 2018, waited patiently for my complaint to be dealt with. In July 2021, I was contacted by somebody from Labour's Governance and Legal Unit to say that my complaint finally was going to be heard by an NCC panel. And I was invited as the victim in this to give evidence. And I said I absolutely did want to because of the impact it had on me. However, I was told that hearing would take place within about a month. But a month later, I didn't get notification of the hearing of my complaint. Instead, I got a letter from the Labour Party telling me that I was under investigation for having given an interview to Socialist Appeal. They applied that kind of rule retrospectively to me and then subsequently expelled me in November 2021. I've recently learned that the man who was commissioned by my fellow Labour councillors in Harrow to harass and stalk me was readmitted to the party in November without the complaints hearing going ahead. I also am aware that there are numerous other complaints of similar nature against this man. And he's been welcomed back to the party. I also then subsequently learned that he'd been invited to tea with my local MP, Gareth Thomas. The man doesn't live in Harrow, but anyway, that kind of is an indication of what's going on. So my concern is, as I've been saying for quite some time, Labour does not have processes in place to protect women. But what we should think about is it's not all women. If this had happened to Harriet Harman or Lisa Nandy, there'd be uproar, it'd be in the newspapers. This is happening to socialist women. And what's happened is we have been dehumanized and we're allowed to be abused, attacked with no mechanism to challenge what's going on. So it is not a safe place for socialist women. And look at how many people, both Laura Murray and Georgia Robertson, both who are excellent people, have been forced out of the party, basically. They've left their jobs, they're no longer wishing to be involved with Labour, as far as I can see. And that's the same for many of us. So we have to keep telling this story until something is done, because it is abuse that is being covered up. And I note in the BBC, they say Labour takes allegations of sexual harassment very seriously, and we investigate according with our procedures. But they didn't, you know, and they haven't in my case. They have let this man back into the party, who I have to add seems to me quite unstable. But this is also another common thing that is going on in the Labour Party. And I've since heard from many people that MPs and councillors and other senior members in the Labour Party groom people who are quite vulnerable mentally and use them to attack people. Now, this man who I'd never met before, who has been attacking me for some time, and actually came to Harrow and started shouting abuse at one of my sons when he was only 18 in a pub. He doesn't know me from Adam, he's never met me, yet he's been kind of asked by Labour councillors to attack me. Now, he's actually put this on his social media, he's stated it publicly, and yet it doesn't seem to worry anybody in the party. It's quite astonishing, really. But that's it.
I mean, I am appalled at what you've said, and everyone has said the same in the chat as far as I've been looking there. You know, you were the candidate in Harrow in 2019. You were a councillor for a long time. You've worked to help people in the law centre as well, haven't you? In Harrow, you're a very important support to people in your community, and you've been pushed out by people who are bullying and using all kinds of underhand tactics. And I think you're a complete hero. You're on that calendar, but you should actually just have the whole calendar should be about you, because it's appalling what's happened to you, Pamela. I hope you can come on again, and it's always good to see you.